What's up, everybody? This is Braden with Pickleball Effect. I'm really excited to have Jack Foster with me today. Jack, welcome.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I've really been looking forward to this. So, leading up to this discussion, this interview, I've been playing a lot more singles, but there's not a lot of singles content out there. There's tons of doubles, tips and strategy, but not so much around singles. So, I wanted to find one of the best people in the world, and I found you. So if you don't know who Jack is, Jack, you've been competing since like 2018 or so on the pro. You've excelled in singles. I looked up your DUPR rating. You're a 6.7 DUPR rating for singles, and you're in the top 10 on the World Pickleball Rankings. So you're a phenomenal singles player. You've been on lots of podiums, and really happy to have you here and to get your thoughts on how we can play singles better. So before we dive into some of the questions I have, give us a little introduction about yourself. Tell us why you're so freaking good at singles and what you're up to.
Well, I am 20 years old. I go to the University of Florida, and I started playing pickleball about 4 years ago. I picked it up in actually high school gym class, and I've always liked playing singles. I played tennis before. I like running around, doing all kinds of stuff. So I like using my athleticism to win, and singles provides that with a whole court. Doubles is fun. I'm still working into it. It's a lot tougher for me with the hands battles and everything, but singles I've just always naturally loved it and fallen in love with it, and that's what I've done.
Awesome. So I got a slew of questions going to run by you. The first one is, when you're going up, you're playing in a singles match, you're going against somebody, let's say you've never played them before. What's the general thought process or strategy going into a match?
Well, usually when I'm seeing one playing, and if it's an early round, I'll try and look them up before, see any results that they've had in the past, see if there's any video available of them. But if it's somebody that's progressing through the rounds and I haven't really seen them play much, it's just kind of a standard go to the backhand, go to the middle, and then adjust, try and hit it. For me, try and hit as many forehands as I can, get to my best shot, and just try and extend the points if needed to try and make them hit as many different kinds of balls as possible, and try and feel them out and find their weakness.
So when you're trying to fill them up, find a weakness, what's a common weakness that you see? Is it backhands? Is it, I don't know, what are you feeling out for?
It's definitely from the back baseline. It's definitely the backhand. A lot of people are weaker, but as more tennis guys get in, they're solid from both sides. This past year, I've seen a lot of people that can hit so well from both sides, and there used to be pretty easier rounds in the early rounds of singles, but now everybody's pretty tough. One of the things that I've kind of found that you can do is move them around at the net, play a little bit of cat and mouse. Some of the newer players haven't fully adjusted to that yet, and it's pretty tough. I'm still not that great at it, but I'm willing to go to that to try and see if there's a weakness there early on.
It seems like there's kind of two general strategies or ways to play singles. There's the pass, you go for the big pass shots, endpoints quick, and then there's that cat and mouse style, which is more drops, more slower, more moving people around. Is that how you define those, the kind of the two different strategies?
Yeah, I'd say that's definitely the two different strategies. Probably the optimal one is kind of a mix of both. Personally, I've tried to do a lot more cat and mouse, slowing the game down this past year. Previously, I've just been grip it and rip it, hope it goes in. And I've made a lot of unforced errors before. I've tried to cut down on that, extend the points, give myself a chance. Still a work in progress, but try and learn all types of strategies.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so whenever I ask people about a single strategy, the most common thing I hear is, big serves, big returns, and aim at people's backhands. So from your perspective, how important are serves and returns in the overall strategy of the game?
Well, the serve is absolutely critical, more than anything else, I think, because it sets up all your next points. If you can hit a hard, deep serve, which is what I'm going for every time, you can get a short return, and if you have just a big punch shot after that, you can put it away on the third ball usually. Maybe you get a fifth, and they put it back to you, and you're already in position to put it away. Returns are big. I would say more than pace, the depth and the direction of where you return is the most important. You don't have to hit a super hard return in singles. It helps if you can just rip one once in a while to catch your opponent off guard. But really the key is depth, because if you keep the ball deep, sometimes there's not a lot they can do with it, especially if they're a player that likes to crowd the back line, the baseline.
Okay. That brings me to the next question. So on returns, depth, I love that. That's more important than pace. Locations, are you just focused more on depth, or are you hitting corners? Are you looking for backhand forehands, or just mixing it up?
Well, you definitely don't want to have what I call kind of like line syndrome. Just aim for the white lines. A lot of people, including myself, we try and hit the white line because it's the first thing we see. But you probably want to aim a foot or two inside the line to give yourself a little margin for error. The placement, I think, again, it all comes down to who you're playing. If you're playing a taller guy, it's not bad to hit a little bit of a short return to try and bring them in, make them get low and move. Some players have better backhands, so you got to move it around. And some players like angles, so you have to go to the middle of the court. It just kind of really depends to who you're playing in that case.
So when you're aiming middle of the court, that kind of takes away angles. If someone favors those kind of soft angle drives, that's your go-to shot. If they're not as good at those, you want to make a move anywhere across the back line, and that sets you up better there.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. That's good. And then, okay, you hit a good return. I feel like the hardest part for me is when, like, you want to come to the net, right? So you hit a return, you charge the net. Do you charge the net every time, whether or not it's a good or a bad return? What are your thoughts there?
For me, I'm going to charge the net pretty much every single time because number one, I kind of like to just scrap and try, and I can get to a lot of balls usually at the net on the passing shots. I feel like I read passes generally pretty well. And, I don't want to, especially against these amazing tennis players who were much better at tennis than I am, you don't want to get into a big ground stroke battle with them and then have to hit a perfect pass that hits the line to pass them. So me, I like to try and come in and work the point up at the net after I return. I just feel like you draw more unforced errors out of your opponent if you're up at the net, because when they have somebody there, it's tougher to pass clean.
Okay, I like that. So you can kind of neutralize someone who's better at ground strokes by putting more pressure on and make them feel like they need to hit
Absolutely.
the perfect shot from the base. Okay. Crowd the net when you can, big returns. And then when you're reading passing shots, this is what I think is the hardest part of singles. Like when I play a good, someone who has a good drive, I feel like I get passed way too easy when I come up to the net. And then I see people like you who are like, you get like these insane shots when you're at the net. You can cover so much ground. Are you guessing, anticipating? Is it reading the passing shot? Is it from film you've reviewed? Like, their tendencies? Like, how are you able to cover so much ground at the net?
So usually you play these guys several times, so you kind of start to get a general feeling of where they're going to go. But if you haven't played somebody before, I would say you play you cover what's going to be the safest shot. So generally people, especially tennis players, are going to kind of want to stay in the pattern of where the ball is going. So let's say you hit a return cross court, their passing shot is much more likely to go back cross court because it's much easier to stay in that pattern versus change the direction of the ball where you're more likely to make an error.
Okay, interesting. I haven't heard that one. That's cool. And then my last question before we look at some video is, if you were to give someone some advice on, 1, 2, or 3 shots they should be practicing to get better at singles, what would you tell them to practice?
Serve and return, definitely one thing for sure. I would say most players are going to try and want to get around their forehand. So I would work on hitting your forehand from, practice hitting it from the middle, and practice hitting, if you're in the middle, practice dropping it, being able to roll the ball both ways, take a little bit of pace off of it, because you can't just smack every single ball, especially when you don't have any angle to work with. You kind of have to roll it in and then approach the net. And then I would also work on kind of split stepping when you're about to volley and getting up to the net, and just keeping your paddle up and kind of just reacting to where the volleys are going to go, and being able to push a volley deep. Depth is the key on volleys as well as with the serve.
Those are fantastic. Thanks for your thoughts there. So I did pull a few points I want to analyze with you. This comes from the APP St. Louis Open, which was last month. This was an indoor tournament. I pulled 4 points from a match you had with Dylan Frazier. This was an epic match. It went all 3 games. Nearly every single game went into overtime. If you haven't watched this, I'll put a link in the description so you can go watch it. Incredible match. And so I pulled a few points from this. I'll share my screen, let you watch them, and then we'll replay him, and I would just want to hear your thoughts on that point, why you selected a certain shot, and see what you say from that. All right, here's the first one. So this actually has 2 points in a row. We'll watch it and then get your thoughts on it. So this is the very end of game one. You're down 8-9. That puts you at 9-9. And then this next one, you pick a different shot off the return, but from like the same spot. Now that I'm sure that
I remember that.
I called out. I remember, dude. I was like, that was a joke. That was in. I reviewed it several times, but you that got called out. You ended up winning this game, which I was like super happy for you. But so my question here is, both of these shots are from the same spot. One's a drive down the line, and then the other is like a cross court kind of roll right there. So
looking at
tell me why you picked those shots.
So looking at the first shot that I hit at 8-9, I mean, honestly, looking back at that, it's probably not the best spot to go to. Number one, because I'm hitting into the highest part of the net, and number two, it's to Dylan's forehand volley, which he is extremely good at. So, I did a good job of staying in the pattern. I'll give myself that. So I didn't try and drive a ball cross court that was coming down the line at me. I went to the right spot. I got away with it. He missed the volley. That's all I can really say about that. It had pace on it, and it went over the net.
Okay, good.
Not the best spot, but it worked.
Awesome. Okay, let's look at this next one. So different shot, same spot. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, I really like that one, especially if you're going to that down the line the past time to Dylan's forehand volley. It was good to change it up because you can see he's starting to lean a little bit more towards that line. So dropping a ball and rolling it, going to the right side of the court, number one, it takes pace off. He's expecting a hard ball, and that gives me time to get up to the net. So, even if Dylan puts that back, I'm probably there. He's great at getting balls back.
He's pulled wide. You're in a good spot.
The next one away, Probably a little bit too close. Didn't need to put it that close to the line, but got away with it again.
Yeah, that shot was so nasty. That was frustrating. That was called out. Okay, here's the second point. So this was more of a cat and mouse type point. This is the very end of game two. You guys are tied 12-12 right here, and it's Dylan's serve. So nasty right there, dude. All right, tell me what you're thinking here.
Yeah, that last backhand probably should have been a slice rather than just pushing the ball back there with the no look. Dylan is probably he's close to one of the best cat and mouse players. If you let him get up to the net, he is very tough to beat. So my goal here was kind of not to get into that and just push the ball away from him. And I played high risk, high reward. I got that point. I think I made 2 errors after that to lose the game. So
that last shot, what were like your other options other than pulling that all the way across?
I think a slice cross court, just a soft slice, not that drastic, as big of an angle as I went for, would have been a good option. And then also to push the ball down the line. It's probably tough to push that flat because it's the highest part of the net. But if I sliced that down the line, Dylan would have got to the ball. But it would have been a tough volley for him to hit. It just would have went probably a few more shots.
So I feel like in singles I get in a lot of weird positions where I don't know whether to be aggressive with it or to play it soft and try to recover. What's like your default shot? Like if you're pulled out wide, like do you just go for the winner and hope, do you go big and hope for the winner, or do you try to recover?
Sometimes I do try and go big for the winner, and then I think afterwards, wow, I should not have done that. I would say it's definitely good just to play another ball, keep the ball in, make your opponent beat you. Sometimes they're going to hit shots that are just too good, and sometimes you're going to hit amazing winners that they can't get to. But if you can push balls in and allow them to make more errors, especially if you find like good angles, good if I drop the ball into the kitchen towards the sideline, they either have to push the ball all the way across court, which is a very tough shot, or go down the line. Either way, they're probably going to be aiming close to the line, so they could miss it.
Gotcha. I like that. Okay, that's good.
And then another thing that I've seen for a lot of players now, Dylan in that video is definitely not one of those players, but you can sometimes go at a player if their hands are a little bit slow, which is not a strategy that's done that so much in singles. But like Dylan is not a player you'd want to go at because he has probably close to the best hands in the world. But other players, you can get away with that.
Okay, so here's the third example. So this is the middle of game 3. You guys are tied 5-5. You're serving. So these next two examples are points where you actually end up losing. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on why you think you lost these particular points.
So that right there, two very clear things. The first problem, the first shot, definitely a big problem of mine, running around to hit a forehand. That's definitely
right
a backhand
here. Okay.
shot right there. I'm developing my backhand. It's getting a lot better. It's not exactly where I want it to be yet. So when I'm playing matches and they're tight, I have a tendency to run around and hit my forehand.
But that's not uncommon. Like I see a lot of people do that. Obviously, Tyson is very well known for doing that. Right. And I feel like you hit this ball well.
That one's look at my court positioning. So I'm entirely off the court. So Dylan, it's okay to run an out-handed forehand, but I have to be probably 3 feet more inside the court.
So that one in particular was maybe pushing it a little bit.
Dylan can put the ball, wherever he wants, and even if I get to it, I'm hitting on the run like I think the next shot's going to be.
Yeah.
And Dylan hit a great volley. That was a good passing. That's probably the best passing shot I can hit from that position, and Dylan still got it. So.
Yeah, I feel like he read that one well.
And then this ball,
because you were on the move and you pulled that across your body, which is not easy.
And this ball should have went up the line for sure because number one, that's
this one before right here.
No, this final ball where I hit
this final
right there. Yeah. The one that I went cross court on.
Oh, this one right here.
Right there. Yeah, that definitely should have went up the line. Number one, because the ball's sitting on the line and it was like kind of pushed, so I should have went at him or up the line versus hitting cross court where he has the whole court and it's to his forehand.
So that takes away options for him when you go down the line there.
It's just things that, I didn't think about in the heat of the moment. It happens. But looking back at it, definitely should have made a difference.
And then this last point, let's think of this one. It's like this one, I feel like you were in control and then Dylan he kind of pulled one out of his hat a little bit, but
yeah, really, I mean, that's just a great shot by Dylan. Not much I can say there. That last volley was a little bit short, and it was to his forehand. Probably a better shot would have been. I mean, depth would have been nice, but it's tough to get depth at moments like that. So just more to the middle, make him run around and create an angle versus what he did. He could just easily roll it, which he's very good at. That's just, I got to give my hat off to him. That's a great shot.
Yeah, he hit
especially in that 8-8 in the third game. That's an unbelievable shot.
So when it comes to these volleys, like I feel like you're in control here. You're moving them around. How big, like how hard do you want to hit these? Are you trying to put some pace on these, or you focus more on placement? Like this one, like you hit it well, had decent depth, but it wasn't like cranked. Like you didn't go all out on it,
No, I don't mind that volley. I mean, depth would have been nice, but I'm not going for pace when I'm volleying. I'm just trying to, unless it's a put away volley, I'm just trying to push the ball in the court and make them hit another shot is my main.
Yeah, I mean, he's completely extended there, which is probably what you wanted.
Absolutely.
And then he hits a good shot. Okay. Well, those are all the points I had. That was way better than I was hoping, dude. I didn't really know what to expect, but you're obviously very smart, very intelligent, and that was really fun to hear your thoughts on those. You're on Instagram. Do you have YouTube channel? Where can people find you?
Just Instagram and then Facebook. I'm just kind of getting into. I haven't been big on pickleball social media yet. Still working on that. I'll get there eventually.
Yeah, no worries. Well, hopefully we'll send some people your way. And again, I'll link that game in the description of Jack and Dylan. Fantastic match. Jack, thanks for being on here. Good luck, and we're excited to keep watching you in the future.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was very